Welcome back to my spiralling addiction with tiny plastic models. So in my last videos I've talked about the system that I'm going to be using for this project, which is Imperius Dominatus. I've also painted and finished one army as a both as a collecting into the system, but also I'd like to have armies of my own to introduce people to the game and play it myself. And that was 2,000 points of Iron Hands. Now though, you'll be pleased to know that I've just finished painting a second army so that we can finally get that demo game in and I can twist the arms of all my friends to play it as well. And here they are, 2,000 points of Solar Auxilia. So this army has a little bit of everything in it. Following the Imperius Dominatus rules, you have to start with a company card. So in this case, I started with a company card of a Carnodon company. It has a mix of las cannons, Volkites, autocannons, and you can see them kind of listed up in their groups there. The company commander is the little Carnodon tank at the front. Behind that, I then added on all of the support detachments that make up the rest of the army list. So, I started with some Leman Russes, a trio of them, you can see in the middle of the picture. The Basilisk artillery, to give some long-range artillery support. 2 blocks of infantry with Dracosan transports. And then I added some heavy armour with a Baneblade that you can see at the back of the picture. And last but by no means least, I had enough points to fit in a trio of lightning interceptors. So here we have our Solar Auxilia army. Up close and personal. Now, not everything is on here. I think there's a unit of infantry that I just can't fit on for the camera. But I just thought I'd show you the little bits up close and personal. So this is one of the Carnodon tanks. These are like light tanks, from my understanding, and I've always drawn a parallel to them to like the Warrior or the Bradley. That's modern day kind of light tank. We have the Basilisk here as well. So all of these are printed at kind of like 7 to 8 mil, being a little bit flexible with it. These are the Leman Russ tanks, and I'm pretty happy with these tanks actually because, so if anybody's had any thought of how to do antennas for command tanks, this is a bit of brush bristle. So from an actual floor brush, I just cut a little bit off and then just super glued it on and then painted it grey. And you get some really nice, very flexible, I'm actually about to break it off, very flexible antenna there. So yeah, highly recommend. Next up, these are the Dracosan, and these are a unique transport to the Solar Auxilia. Now, making these is a bit of a pain, because the measurements are a bit difficult online to try and find, and then scaling it down as well. I found it quite difficult. What I ended up doing was I ended up taking a Leman Russ kind of variant, one of these, without the sponsons on, stretched it out. You can see if you look closely, it's a bit stretched out. And then superimposing a Carnodon front into it. So you can probably see the similarity there with that kind of driving hatch, or that front viewport. So kind of superimpose that in, and in fact you can probably see as well, this top bit is a Carnodon turret without a weapon. So you can see the similarity there as well. So a little bit of bashing, a little bit of digital kit bashing here, but I think I've got something that could be a, decent, looks true to form of a Dracosan, a big chunky Dracosan transport. Here's the Baneblade, pride and joy. Really happy with how it turned out. Again, really nice prints, and again the bristle brush antenna. Yeah, highly recommend. This has come out lovely. And last but by no means least, the infantry that will do all the legwork. Very simple. I don't know if you can see. So these, by the rules, are supposed to have Volkite chargers. I couldn't find Cadians with Volkite chargers, so I got them with plasmas instead, but doesn't matter. It's still a special weapon. I'm sure my opponent won't mind. But yeah, so that is a close-up introduction to the Solar Auxilia. So what now? Well, you might be there thinking, Congratulations, Ben, you've painted 2 armies. Like, now what? Is that it? And I'm going to have to say no, unfortunately not. There is still a significant amount of work to do. I want these 2 armies to meet on the battlefield, so for that I need to sort out a table. Now last year I ended up buying a decent amount of Battletech terrain, which is around like 7-8 mil, but for that project it kind of fizzled out a little bit. However, I've still got a box with all of those bits in, so I dug it all out and gave it a lick of paint. One thing I'm thinking of doing when it comes to a table of terrain for Epic is I want that variety. On a traditional 28mm 6x4 for instance, it's tricky to get lots of different biomes. You know, I've seen battlefields where you've got, you know, a city on one side and then maybe a wall and then a jungle on the other side. But if you start to do anything more than that, I feel it gets a bit too contrived. Here, I like to think that I can get a load of different variety with compounds, villages, forests, and still make it look like a sizable and appropriate space to battle on. The next thing on my radar will be some taller buildings. Everything you can see obviously is quite small, giving like a Middle Eastern or like Tatooine kind of vibe. I do have my eye on a few apartment blocks and ruined towers from vendors to add some more variety. But because I'm taking more of a desert approach, I'd be interested in your suggestions for buildings that may or may not fit. Anyway, I fully appreciate that this is a slightly shorter video than the last one. I feel like I'm in a pretty good place at the moment. I've got 2 armies done, painted, ready to go. I have a nice amount of terrain. Obviously, I've got some stuff to work on. Next up, we'll be digesting the Imperius Dominatus rulebook fully, and then actually getting that demo game in. If you have any comments on stuff you'd like to see, please write them down below. I look forward to hearing from you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. All the best.